Gravity is everywhere. It's the force that keeps our feet on the ground. It's what makes apples fall from trees. Without gravity, our world would be very different. Imagine a world without it. But what if gravity suddenly disappeared? The results would be incredible and maybe a little bit scary. Everything we know about how things work would be turned on its head. Gravity isn't just about keeping things down, it's about keeping things together. It's what holds our planet in one piece. Without it, life as we know it wouldn't exist. Let's take a journey into this gravity-free world. Imagine you're sitting at home, watching TV. Suddenly you start to float. Your coffee mug drifts away, your cat zooms past your head. Chaos has begun. This is what would happen if gravity stopped. Everything not tied down would start to float. People, animals, objects, all airborne, concerned citizen. Outside, the scene would be even wilder. Cars would lift off the roads. Trees would start to uproot, loose items would fly everywhere. It would look like a movie scene, but this would be real, and it would be happening all over the world. From New York to Tokyo, everything would be floating. Animals would be just as confused as humans. Birds would lose control of their flight. Fish would float out of lakes and oceans. Even insects would be affected. Ants would lose their grip on the ground. Bees would tumble through the air. It would be a tough time for all living things. The initial reaction would be panic. Let's look at some specific scenarios. Cars on the road would be in trouble. They'd start to float along with their passengers. Traffic jams would turn into mid-air collisions. Driving would become impossible. It would be safer to just let your car float and hold on tight. Child airplanes would face a different problem. They rely on gravity for many things. Without it, they'd lose the ability to generate lift. Pilots would struggle to control their aircraft. Passengers would float out of their seats. Planes in the air might fare better than those trying to take off or land. Water would behave strangely too. Rivers would stop flowing. Oceans would lose their waves. Water would start to float up from lakes and seas. It would form giant floating blobs.
Section 4. The science behind the madness. Why would all this happen? It's all about forces.
Gravity is a force that pulls everything towards the Earth's center. When it's gone, other forces take over. The Earth's rotation becomes more noticeable. It would try to fling things into space, but it wouldn't be strong enough to do it in just an hour.
Air pressure would play a big role too. Our atmosphere is held close to Earth by gravity. Without it, air would start to escape into space. It would be slow at first, but after a while, breathing could become difficult. The air would get thinner, especially at higher altitudes.
Temperature would be affected as well. Gravity helps distribute heat in our atmosphere. Without it, hot air wouldn't rise, cold air wouldn't sink, weather patterns would go crazy. Some places might get much hotter, others could get much colder.
Section 5. Danger zones, short-term risks. The first danger would be injuries from floating. People would bump into things, they'd collide with each other. Without gravity, a small push could send you flying. Head injuries would be common. It would be like a worldwide bumper car ride, but without the cars, and a lot more dangerous.
Another risk would be from floating objects. Anything not secured could become a projectile. Keys, pens, even small furniture could cause harm. In cities, the danger would be even greater. Imagine dodging floating cars and street signs. It would be like a real-life video game, but with real consequences.
Lack of water would quickly become a problem. Taps wouldn't work without gravity. Water treatment plants would shut down. Rivers wouldn't flow. Getting clean water would be a challenge. Dehydration could set in fast.
Section 6. Back to Earth. The return of gravity. When gravity returns, chaos would strike again. Everything in the air would fall. It would be like a worldwide earthquake. The impacts would be tremendous. Buildings might collapse. Roads would be damaged. It would be a dangerous time. People would need to brace for impact.
Water would be a major issue. All those floating water blobs would come crashing down. Flash floods would be common. Coastal areas would be hit hard. Inland areas near rivers or lakes would also be at risk. The water damage would be extensive. It would take time to clean up.
Recovery would start immediately. Emergency services would be overwhelmed. Hospitals would fill up quickly. Cleanup efforts would begin.